Well, thank y'all so much for coming today. We just want to do a few introductions before we got started. I'm Claire White, for those of y'all that I haven't met before. I'm the local rep here on campus. So I'm on and off campus quite a bit, but I will be your go-to person going forward for Connect and SimNet and the material y'all are using. I live down in Columbus, so not far, about an hour drive out here, so it's not bad at all. It's actually one of my closer schools, which is nice. And then we also have Mona Smith, who is the learning specialist, and she can kind of speak more to what she does.
Yeah, that's the most non-descriptive title I've ever had with this company, a learning specialist. It doesn't really say much, and they change it every year. For you guys who I met when we were here right before we got off into the summer, hey again, if you're new, good to see you. Basically, I help all our reps with the digital piece. I help you guys use it, construct courses that are successful for you, because that's kind of the point of this whole thing, is to have a course that does what it should be doing for you and your students, right? Just to tell you a little bit about myself in the background, where I'm from. I am from Sweden, and I just came back from Sweden about a day ago, so I am very jet lagged, and I might jump into Swenglish at odd occasions. Just usually I'll see by the look in your faces when I'm going that route, and I try to correct me, otherwise Claire will be like, snap out of it. So I taught myself in college for 8 years, taught at West Georgia for 4 years and at GGC as well, and big into technology in the classroom, taught hybrid, online, face-to-face. Really think it's a great way to get a hold of all the students and kind of give them the course and interaction with course materials that they have to. They might not always realize it, but they have to interact and engage a lot more than they initially expect. But also understanding that you guys have only so much time on your plates. So we really appreciate you guys coming here today. And we are actually recording this session.
Well, we were.
So feel free to ask any questions, and we'll make sure we send this out to you guys at the end. So that if you have any, we'll be going through quite a bit of stuff here today. So if you have any questions, you can refer back to the recording, basically.
And we also have a special guest over here, Kamal Kakish from Georgia Gwinnett College. So he is actually going to go over the SimNet material with y'all. He is a digital faculty consultant for McGraw-Hill, and he's been using SimNet for, 4 years now? Absolutely wonderful. Really knows SimNet really, really well and has been using it in his course. Knows how the students interact with it. So he's going to go over SimNet with y'all. But y'all would give him a warm welcome for driving down here and coming to help out with this.
I've heard really great things about Kamal. So I'm kind of excited to get to work with him today.
Yeah, we actually worked together for a couple years as well. So, and one thing I want to do before we get started, if y'all will go around and introduce yourselves so I can put faces to names and get to know y'all a little bit better as well. Would you start?
I'm Dawn White.
Okay. Awesome.
I'm the Career Services Director.
Perfect.
I am Monica Samuels, and I've been here, like Kim said, forever. And I'm an adjunct instructor here.
I'm Wendy Gray. I'm an early childhood instructor and then college life as well.
Great.
Karen Freeman, early childhood instructor and college life.
Kim Crockett, college law.
Tetra White, and I'm a corporate trainer.
Very cool.
I'm Stephen Ford, instructional design. Jeremy Bishop, I teach core natural sciences.
Okay. Awesome. I recognize everyone's names, so.
And we appreciate you guys coming from here and joining us today. I just want to make sure that feel free to ask any questions you have. This is a session for you. I want you guys to get what you need out of it. It is a whole new program and platform for many of you, and you guys are using SimNet and Connect, which kind of are two different pieces. So don't feel bad if you feel like it's overload today. You might a little bit, but we're here to help. We genuinely are. We have another me as well, Patrick Havens, who sits in the office, who's awesome with everything Connect and SimNet. And feel free to use them. I know sometimes when I taught, I was tried to be very respectful of people's time, but we want to make sure we can justify Patrick's salary. So please reach out to him a lot because we want to keep him on board. So we'll send you his contact info in a follow-up email, and feel free to CC all of us on him so we can, whoever gets to you first will help you with whatever question or concern you might have. All right, so we're going to start off then with the Connect piece. So we have Connect and we have SimNet. We built the course for you, so it should be tied to your learning objectives already. So you really don't have to create anything. The material is there, the assignments are there already. We just got to bring them all into your Blackboard page and show you how to very basically manage this. And this is where I just have a little ask for you guys. Just be a little bit patient with this. I know it's frustrating. I've been through that process myself. When you have new content, you have to kind of get to know before you teach, but also new technologies. And then you have students asking about it. It can be a bit like, hey, wait a minute. It's a lot. I will say after the first semester, going through the first semester, you're going to know a lot more about this. You're going to be way more comfortable with it. And as that first semester goes through, we are here. Just think of us as a resource. So we have made a shell. You guys should already have a login for Connect. Mm-hmm. And the login is here. You type in mhhm.com into the browser. So just go into your browser window, mhhm.com. That's what that is. Once you get to the Connect login page, it will ask you for a username and a password. And your username is your West Georgia Tech email, so everybody has their own username. Just put in your full email with westgeorgiatech.edu as well. And then the password for now is welcome123 capital W on that one. It's super advanced stuff. This is high-level security passwords. You can reset your own password, by the way. Once you're in that Connect login, there's a blue thing that says forgot password. At any point in time, can you click on that and enter your own personal password? That's totally okay. So your full West Georgia Tech email and welcome123. Do I have everybody with me? So mhhm.com in the browser. I'm doing my little teacher checks. Feels so good being back here, Matt. Already up and running, almost. Good. And stop me if I'm going too fast. I'm in here. I've been in here since Connect started, 2009. So I tend to get super excited and get carried away. So just tell me to rein it in a little bit if I go too fast.
You're faster than my computer.
Well, that's something. That's a good thing. Yes, capital W, welcome, 1, 2, 3, no space between welcome and 1, 2, 3.
I'll jump on and see if I can reset it. You can keep going and I'll go there.
Once you log in, you should have this course sitting right here. This should look similar to you. It should say College 1090 Master Shell. Everybody except 1, 2, we're there. Your computer's still giving you problems?
Yes.
Aye, aye, aye.
It's all right.
All right. Once you get up and running, let Claire know and she'll come and walk you through anything.
I don't say master shell, it just says.
So-
Oh, never mind, there it is.
Yeah, we're using yours, Kim, so I think this will be what's up there. So what I would recommend is to not touch this master shell, really. Don't pair it. Just let it sit there. So that if you have anything where you happen to just delete something from one of your Connect courses, you always have a fresh master shell sitting here where you can move assignments over as you need, right? This is kind of your blueprint for this course. So the master shell, just let that sit there. The first step for us to kind of prepare for the Blackboard pairing on the Connect side is to make sure that we have the right amount of sections in our Connect shell to match up with the right amount of sections in your Blackboard shell. So I know, Kim, you're teaching 2 sections, correct? Is there anyone else that's teaching more than one? Everybody's like, yeah, 15 over here. Okay. So however many separate sections you have, we're going to want to duplicate the master into that number of them. And I'm going to show you how to do that. When we do this, I want to make sure you label each section clearly so that once you get into your Blackboard section and try to pair them, you can identify the right connect section very quickly. That was a mistake I did a couple of times. I didn't really rename this very well. So when I tried to pair my courses, I sat there with 5 different connect, all with the same name, and I'm like, I don't even know. It was not a great scenario, let me just put it that way. Especially when students started signing into the wrong sections. I think I have patches of hair missing from that still, that semester. I just tore it out. So basically here, in Connect, by the way, everything that is blue is clickable, right? So if you click on anything blue, you can do something, edit something. You can't break it. So for our purpose right now, we want to go in, no, trust me, I tried. I really tried, and I did not, so I can confidently say this. The little cog wheel that is sitting there, that's a functionality that goes throughout Connect. That lets you edit whatever control function that has. So we're going to click on the cog wheel, and we're going to go to duplicate section. And Kim, I'm doing this for you, so you don't have to do this. Just letting you know. So click on duplicate section. So now we're going to rename. We're going to put in a new name for that secondary section, the new fresh section we're trying to create. And I'm going to want to make sure I put the right CRN. So 20217 is what we want for this one for you, Kim. So we want college, we take out copy of, we take out master shell, and I said 20217. Here we go. And then continue to the new section. You can just ignore this sheet, close it out. Don't worry about it. And you should have this. What we now have, we took the master shell, we made a carbon copy of it, we just named it something differently so we can separate those. Just click up in the left corner, there's a little X. You can just close that out, yep. Mm-hmm. Perfect. Perfect, perfect. So now you've created one section. So if you're only teaching the one, you're set. This is it. If you're teaching another section, we're going to do this again, right? So we go to the cogwheel, we click duplicate section, and we're going to rename this. We take out the copy of. We're going to find out what section number this would be. And we are looking at 21, 4. So 21004. Continue to the new section. Close this window by hitting the X up in the left corner. And here's our 2 sections that we need for Kim. When she tries to pair it with her Blackboard, she can easily identify which goes with which, right? And you can name it, if you have Monday, Wednesday, 10 o'clock, you can put that in there. If you have Tuesday, Thursday, 3 p.m., you can really name these whatever, but sometimes it's kind of nice to do the CRN if you match them up that way. So, now we've done the big job of the heavy lifting on the Connect side. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into your Blackboard site. So what you just open up a new window and you log into your Blackboard course, or your West Georgia Tech Blackboard course. You should, with me?
I'm copying it right now.
Yep.
No, it was my fault. I added you into SimNet and not here, so that's why you weren't able to get in.
So once you're in here, everybody with me? Yep. Sort of, kind of.
Right.
Still working on it.
Karen. Will you refresh and see if it shows up?
You have your 3 CRNs.
I do. Yeah. One of them's not in Blackboard.
Correct.
Right.
It won't be until Wednesday.
Yep.
Okay.
So once you get into your Blackboard,
Duplicate.
duplicate.
Sorry,
No, that's actually a good question. Always, when you try to make a copy to yourself, always duplicate it. Copy means you're sending something to a colleague, right? So if you copy something, it's going to ask you who do you want to copy it to, and that's not quite what we're looking at. We're just trying to duplicate it. So in here, you choose which section you want to start pairing, right? I'm going to start with a 20217 course, so I click into that on the Blackboard end of it. Right here. There is a McGraw-Hill symbol I see already in here. That's awesome.
I'm guessing mine's the 2019-12, right?
So when we're in here, we're gonna go to, I like to go here. That still works, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
it should. Yeah.
So I go to Course Tool. There's a little difference here how your Blackboard people want to see. There's a McGraw-Hill button. That might be where they want you to. I'm not so sure if that's the one to go. I like to go into the Course Tool, which is where my toolbox as a teacher for this course is, basically. And Course Tools, rolling down to the McGraw-Hill Higher Education. Just click into that option, and now we're talking, right? So we now have to make sure that our Blackboard account finds our Connect account before we connect it to courses, right? So we've got to start with the long game first. So we're in your Blackboard. While we're here, we're going to click on Pair Course with a Connect section. So click into that option. I'm going to say I'm ready, so continue. It's going to bring you to this window right here. Your email and password is what you just log in to connect with. So your school, your West Georgia Tech email, the full email, and then the welcome, capital W123. So I'm going in, and again, Kim, I'm doing all this for you. Just so you know, you can just relax.
Just handle it.
It's nice to have someone else sign in. The next question will be, all right, so we found you. Now, what do you want to pair this Blackboard section with? Do you want to build a whole new Connect section? No, right? We already made that for you. That's the perk. It's already pre-made. So we're going to click into that little button there that says a section in an existing Connect course, right? That should open up
Sweet.
a window. Now we got to figure out, since Kim has two different ones in here, I'm going to open up this to see if we find the right options, and we did. If you don't get the courses, if you don't see the courses you just created pop up on this list, just click cancel, and you can click into the other folder, right? And you can clearly see there's just one. This is our test course. We already paired it.
So would this, if I have three, a copy of, would that be the one that I didn't rename?
Yes.
So that's the one I would choose.
Yes. So I am in my Blackboard 20217, which means I have to pair 20217, right? This is where I went wrong a lot of times, and especially when I didn't name it right. I had funky pairings. So don't feel like you'll be the first one if you ever do it, because I think I broke the mold on that one. McGraw-Hill was like, no, you shouldn't use our stuff. You have too much trouble. But so we're going to check into 20217. That is what we want to pair. We're going to click Save. And with this lock symbol, it's saying, okay, we made a connection between your Blackboard and your Connect account, but also between your 20217 Blackboard and your 20217 Connect. They're paired.
So should I go back and rename them?
You can if you want to, if you're teaching that one.
Yeah, and you can rename it at
Yeah.
any time.
You
So
can-
even after you pair it, you can go back into that course and rename that course.
the pairing will still sit there.
Yeah.
You won't mess that up.
Yeah.
So-
And you can always unpair as well. So you're not going to break anything by pairing.
All right. So there's some tools here on how to use Connect with Blackboard that you can watch. You have some options. You have a yellow tab off to the left that says Return to Blackboard. You have another blue one that says Return to Blackboard. So basically two of the same things, just making sure can navigate. If you want to go into Connect, you can do that by clicking here, right? That will take you to Connect homepage. But we're going to return to Blackboard because we made a pairing. Now we're going to move the content over, right? Because the connection is made. Now you can think of it as a kind of a la carte. You're going to now take all the pre-made assignments and move them into your Blackboard shell, right? So we're back at the toolbox on the Blackboard side. So there's a yellow tab up to the left. It says back to Connect. There we go. So in here, if you guys ever log into your Blackboard and go to the course tools, you can always go into your Connect by clicking on this, by the way. It also takes you straight into that section, right? Another thing that's important to know is you can only pair one Blackboard with one Connect. It's a one-on-one pairing. We can't do one Blackboard and two Connects, or vice versa. Does not work. So that's why we duplicate it first, because now we have everything to match up one-on-one, right? So in here you will have tools where you can reset the pairing. So if something went bonkers, click on this, and it will reset the whole thing. It will let you pair with another section, right? So you can always undo what you've done. Just so you don't think that, oh my gosh, I clicked the button, hey, this is it. It's not. So you can always redo that. So in here, I think we're gonna go to lessons. I believe that's where you're gonna have your content, right? So this is the master Blackboard shell. Is it going to look like this? There's not going to be more folders in there. We're just going to pull in the Connect.
Click on lessons.
Yeah, if you click on lessons,
Okay.
it'll be.
Oh, it will open up.
Yep.
Okay.
We have it.
There we go. Perfect. Yeah. Okay. So what we're now going to do is go to, I will go to assessments. And I will go down to McGraw-Hill assignments. Or actually, maybe it'd be easier just to deploy from
That's what I normally
Connect.
do.
So rewind, take it back. Do not take it. There's so many ways of doing this that's a good thing because you really can't mess up on it. I'm trying to think the simplest way would be to go back into your Connect site. So go down to Course Tools, click on McGraw-Hill Higher Education, and then go to my Connect section. Now we're on the home page of Connect, right? Because that connection is made.
Where do
Here's
we
all
go?
the folders.
Yeah.
So just the top one, go to Connect section.
The
Yep.
button that's in your menu is-
So when you have to edit due dates, give students extensions, those kinds of things, it happens here, right? You have to go to this one, and it's going to move on into Blackboard, but it has to be done on the Connect page. You guys good with that? Okay. So in here, we're going to go and get the week 4 passport. If you open up the little arrow here, it shows you there's a Learn Smart, there's interactive, and there's a quiz. We're going to select this whole folder. So just click on that little square off in the blue next to the folder. That selects everything in the folder. We're going to go to what I call the stack deck. There's looks like paper stacked onto each other. I don't know what else it is, so we're going with stack deck. The first icon that says Blackboard Deploy, that's our go-to. We're telling Connect to move things into Blackboard. This is the next window. Once you're here, we're going to click Browse because we're going to tell Connect where to put this week 4 folder. So we're going to browse. We're going to scroll down to week 4. Click on it. So now we see lessons week 4 passport, and it's saying chapter 1, week 1 interactives, quizzes. We click submit. I'll redo it again. I'll redo it one more time. Do it as many times as you need. And here it is. It's brought into that folder now. Right? Oh wait,
Not you had me, but you loved me.
ignore this one then, because we already did this and we didn't delete them. I'll delete them for you, Kim, so you won't have them here.
You,
I'll just-
her account can't be.
Oh, okay. Would you mind passing this for that? Thank you. So that you will not see these here on your folders, by the way. Once you open up your folder in Blackboard, you will see these. These are the ones that have moved over, right? So what you're looking at on the previous screen was just a glitch in Kim's account. You should not have that. So let's do it again, then.
I saw the
Yeah,
same
let's
thing.
do this again.
How many,
Everyone.
everybody was paired already, wasn't
Yeah, I saw the same thing.
Everything was paired to the master.
So we need to clear those out. I will look, if you need help, I can do so.
I can do it.
Anything that is not being tucked into the folders, because they're all going to be connected to that one master.
Okay.
So we don't want everybody to teach from the same shop. Okay. So we'll go back in. Course tools, McGraw-Hill Higher Education. Go to my Connect section. And we're going to open up week 5. We're going to redo our steps. We're going to open up week 5 folder by clicking that little blue arrow. And it opens up and shows you all the assignments in week 5. I'm going to select the checkbox next to the folder name. That selects everything automatically. Right? And then we go to the stack deck. We hit deploy. Tell me if I'm going too fast. And are you doing it, Kim?
No, I'm just looking to see what.
Okay, because I'm like, ooh. So we're going to click browse. And we're in week 5 now. So we got to click into week 5 folder. So just click on it. Week 5 passport, academic resources. And submit.
All of ours have been done already.
So it shows up like this. Then these are going to disappear. Steven's going to delete these sitting right here. And you'll just see this folder here.
So they're coming in as a folder.
I'm tucking them into each and every folder.
Okay.
I'm telling them to do that. So when you click on this one, you should have these same 3 assignments sitting in your folder, right? Those are going to be there. So your students can click on the Passport 5 folder and have these 3. They will not have those 3 assignments on the previous page, right? So these, when you see this, these 3 will disappear. This one, this one, this one. But they're still sitting here inside.
They're inside that.
They're just duplicated. There's just doubles of them.
How do we tell which one he's?
They're
going to be in the
they're
folder.
going to be, because I'm tucking them into the folder
The
now. I'm
folder
telling the
inside the
system
folder
to tuck
is
them
the
into the folders.
Folder in the folder.
Everything that is inside the
So they gotta
folder,
click twice. So they'll be
everything
in the
that's
folder.
inside your folder is going to be where your students go and do their work.
But on our shell, it's gonna be in 2 folders. It's a folder within a folder.
Because,
within a folder.
there's
Into
also
lesson,
digital
into
stuff
the
inside.
passport, I guess.
It'd
So
be
you have-
lessons, passport, passport.
But also inside that passport folder or week 5 folder, you have your library information at the top, where the libraries will still come to this. We still have some OER content.
Okay.
So like the library, student life,
Advisor.
advising,
So like
financial
week
aid,
one,
they're still gonna come
week
talk to the classes. And then this stuff right here will be classwork, but it's also going to cover the hybrid portion requirements. All of the discussion boards, except for like 4, have been deleted. Discussion boards are no longer the hybrid content.
So thank you.
I'm
said,
I saw that.
So,
Work ethics are gone. I had a request to keep a few discussion boards to help the students learn how to do discussion
You got
boards.
like 4, I think.
So there are like 3, and then there's the one at the very end of reflection is still in place.
So let me ask this. I missed the original presentation over McGraw-Hill. What does this do for our College 1090 course? What does bringing this in?
One thing it allows us to cover the computer, Word, PowerPoint, Excel, much better. The students weren't getting the information they needed to meet that state requirement. The rest of the stuff is just taking what we had and making it interactive. We can now take this being a core class, everyone has to take it. It can now be offered online for those programs that are online. You know, that advertise that they're online, all online, including core. So College 290 can now go online.
So now all the due dates and everything are already set. We don't have to go do that.
That's up to you. I mean,
We do
they
have to do that.
Claire and Mona set the due dates
Okay,
just to go by a standard schedule. But
okay.
there are gonna be
We can
some
show
of you
you.
that are gonna start on a Thursday, or start on Monday, you're gonna have to adjust.
Yeah, and
You can do that in bulk. I'm gonna show you how to do that on Connect side in bulk. And that flows into Blackboard. I just wanted to start with this because this is usually the most important piece to make sure that since we have built the course already, you really don't have to pull in any resources. The assignments are there.
We just continue to transfer over.
Yeah.
mhm.
And
Okay.
so this is the thing too. So once this is set up and we pull everything into every week that it should be, and Stephen deletes this, all they have to do on the Blackboard side next semester is copy this one, and you don't have to redo any of this. You're really gonna have to click on 2 buttons, and everything will reconnect and flow into the right folders with the right assignment for that semester from Connect into Blackboard. So this is just the first semester kind of setup. We have to tell the system where to put things and how you want it structured on the Blackboard side. Once we've done this and gone through taught a semester, Blackboard admins can copy your previous shelf from this semester for next. We copy Connect, and we just tell them to talk to each other.
We don't copy shells.
Oh. Whoa. Good. So yeah, we're gonna have to do this. Alright.
So is there not a way to bring in that information like Stephen has right there straight into that other than a folder? Because they'll be clicking on 2 separate folders. Well, they'll have to click on the lessons folder, then they'll have to click on week 5 folder to get that screen, then they'll have to click on week 5 folder again to get the information. So
and
can you
this
bring
is-
it in individually instead of as a folder?
So what you can do, so we're going back, and actually, if you have 2 windows open, and this is where, I don't know how mainstream your school wants you to keep the shells. That's why I'm going with what's set up on the Blackboard end. If you guys have leeway, you can kind of arrange them how you want a little bit, then that can be done, absolutely. I just don't want to come and say that you can do it, and then they're saying you have to keep continuity.
No, but you're saying that Stephen needs to take out the ones that
We're already
initially
in
show
there.
up. But to me, that makes the most sense is where they are is to come up the moment you click on that folder. Otherwise, they're
It's
gonna have to
still
click
from a
on.
different course.
Yeah, so,
Okay, but what I'm asking is, can we bring them in to show up in the same place you were
Yes.
bringing them in?
so right here, I'm just, and Stephen, this is where you have to say it. So I'm thinking, if we do that now, it might be hard for Stephen to know which
True.
ones are which.
Well, the new
Understood.
information will go to the bottom.
Okay, all right, so
Alright.
as long as you're comfortable and you know,
Oh, I can't do anything.
we can do that. So let me show you how to do that then. So we'll go to week 6. We're into Connect already. We open up the folder. We select everything in the folder. We move up to the stack deck. We click deploy, same things as before. Now, instead of putting it into that folder, you can put it into the lessons, right? Is that where you want it to be? Lessons, and then there's a lessons folder.
That's gonna separate it
No,
from
that's
the
Yeah.
material.
not it.
So
Can-
then,
Can you, instead of checking at the top
At the
and
folder.
selecting the folder,
Can you check
can you check
individual?
the individual assignments in the McGraw-Hill side?
you can move individual assignment. It'll take some time though.
Because it's going into, it's like a folder within a folder and it's just so
It's
many
just
clicks,
extra,
it's
right.
extra clicks and.
Right. So let me see. So we're in chapter 6. If we put it in the lessons,
It's gonna.
It's gonna go.
It's not gonna go into the specific
Can we
weeks.
cancel out
Right.
of this?
so I don't know if you can take this lessons out
No,
and just have lessons and then go straight into those.
no. So they have, that's a standardized thing.
Because this is how your Blackboard is. This for a Blackboard course. So this is where Stephen, if I wanted to not tuck them into the week folders, but tuck them a step earlier, right? Is what you're
Now, they
asking?
need to be tucked into the week folders, but within that week folder, you're actually tucking another folder, is what I'm saying. You're like a folder within a folder,
Okay, so
as
let's
opposed to
see.
going in as
There.
individual
So,
assignments.
Yeah, Mona, is it pulling in the folder from Connect into the new
Into-
folder?
okay,
So maybe if you
yeah,
do it by
yeah,
individual assignment,
yeah.
it's gonna pull it in.
It needs to look like the ones that were pulled in initially,
Right, okay, I see what you're saying.
and we
So-
can, I mean.
I'll click, well,
So
what
if
you
you just
can do,
clicked on the boxes.
so
for
actually
each-
what you can do, and that's kind of what I started out doing, is pulling over everything into just the lessons. That's not still what we're wanting, I'm missing.
No.
Can I
So-
ask a question? There's an option here that says create a folder that is automatically defaulting to yes. So if you just click no, will then that just populate it with the classes and not put it in a folder?
Probably should,
It might.
yeah. So when you go into it,
Yeah.
Right, she said you couldn't rate it.
So what you're saying is, when I am going in, and I'm
When you go in
pulling-
and you do the browse and you
Yeah,
write the name up there.
So I'm going in, I'm pulling in week 6, I'm going into the
That did
Floyd.
it.
That did it.
Yeah.
There.
So it's not gonna
And
pull
Go
over.
in the options and hit no.
Okay.
And then browse,
Mhm.
and then week 6, yeah.
That did it.
That's
And then
it.
you hit
That's
submit.
it.
That's it.
Submit.
I'm coming to work for McGraw.
You should. You totally should. I will back you.
Oh
So
no.
there we go.
That's all I can
Right,
tell
that's
you.
what you were wanting.
Yes, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be difficult,
But, so yeah, so as long as Stephen is familiar, because now they're all sitting, this is the old and this is the new, right? So, just so we are aware of that, because it gets messy. That's what I was trying to keep away a little from. So, oh, you're good.
Yeah, but I'm just thinking about from a student perspective, there's,
Your copy will already be empty.
What,
I'm deleting the master right now. So when you get your.
So,
your shell,
again, we can do that step again with chapter 7 if you guys want to do it. So we'll go back in, McGrail Education, go to my Connect section. We'll click on chapter 7, folder, week 7. Select everything in the folder. Go to deploy. Browse and find chapter 7. Scroll down, select create folder no, and then submit. Just making sure that everybody that watches this recording, don't freak out if you see double assignments for a second in here. Because that is from the old master that was paired, and those will get deleted out, and the new ones are in there.
I would like to add, if I deleted something that you really like, the only thing that I deleted were the assignments. The material is still there in content collection. So if you go to content collection, and because there's something that you really like, you want to use again, it's still in the course, it's just not visible. So if you click content collection, under control panel back in Blackboard, and then click your course itself, all the files that were originally in there are still there.
So like a library of the previous files that you had then, from last semester.
So are we getting rid of everything that we've done
No. It's up.
and we're replacing it?
Some of the stuff will still be used, some of the stuff is gonna be connect and send it only. Like your learning thing,
Strategies?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
it's still there in content collection. If you wanna use it yourself, it's there. There is a connect version, that's built into the course now.
Well, let me ask you this, when I click on these McGraw-Hill assignments, it's telling me that nothing's there. So we're sorry, the assignment you're trying to access can't be found, and that's for every one of them.
Probably
The ones that you just put in are the ones that were there.
Is that the ones that were deleted that you're
If they
talking
were
about?
already there, then yeah, they're no longer connected. What they're doing right now, bringing it in.
Those are the
that were-
ones, if you click on those, I think that should take you into the assignment. There it is. That's the assignment. You click preview, you can see what it is, you can get familiar with it, that kind of thing. So what you clicked on was the ones that were there before. That's from
Okay.
the master. So those,
Okay.
they're gonna disappear. They're not gonna
Okay,
be there.
okay.
So, yeah, so basically, you can circumvent the folders then, that way.
Okay, so once we get here, we click on all the weeks individually, and then we deploy each one individually.
Yeah.
And then once I go back to Blackboard, I will see all my,
Right.
okay, gotcha.
And just click no, and it said, when you go into that step, you click on like week 7, it says deploy,
Uh-huh.
and select the week 7 folder in Blackboard. Then there's the option that said create a new folder, just select no,
No, okay,
and then it will tuck them straight to where they should be.
okay.
Good questions, I'm glad we got that sorted out, that's excellent. Anything else on this? Are we comfortable with the initial pairing? We know how to connect the two, we know how to duplicate, perfect. Just a few more minutes, come on,
Sure.
I'm gonna let you have the scene. So just to kind of show you the very basic pieces of Connect, because you're gonna have to do some basic control or editing on the Connect side. So we're gonna go into the actual Connect course, the homepage, and you can actually go into any of the lessons where you brought in some content, and you can click on any of the links. Now remember, don't click on the ones that were already there, because they'll be dead. You'll get a message saying it will take you nowhere. You have to click on the new links that you bring in. So here we go. That should do it. If you click on the blue home page right here, that takes you back to this page, which now should look a little bit familiar, right? This is where we do all the deploying and all of this. So if you want to change dates, I would open up a few folders at a time. You can do all if you want to, but that's going to be a long list of assignments to work through. I tend to want to work in bulk. If you have your syllabi with the opening and closing dates right next to you, this is going to be done in like 5 minutes. You just select everything in each folder, just like you did when you deployed them. And by the way, now we have a Blackboard telling you this has been pushed into Blackboard, right? So that tells you that these are already in Blackboard. That way you can't double push them in, so to say. So I selected 3 folders, everything in them. Scroll up to that stack deck. That's where all the magic happens on Connect, really, kinda. Like magic, really. A little bit. We're gonna click on Manage Dates. And we now have some options. You can change the dates for everything in the 3 folders you selected. So if we go here and we put one date, start date, opening date, and one due date, that will be the date for everything in these 3 folders, right? It works for some, works less good for some, right? Because I think we talked about that when I was here. Like you as an instructor have to take ownership in how your students progress through the content. I've done it all. I've opened up everything in the beginning of the semester. I've closed half, I've opened it up, and then what I found was it's not beneficial for students to open everything up. I don't want my students to do all the work in 3 weeks and then not come to class. Or I don't want them to come to class having done all the work and be bored out of their mind and not knowing the context of what I'm talking about. I want my students to come, be prepared for the chapter we're talking about. I want to dive in deeper into that chapter and talk to them about what they know and what they don't know, kind of enrich their knowledge gaps there. And then the next week, we're going to move together into the next chapter. Students don't always realize this. They want to have access to everything at once and be done with it. They don't understand the pedagogical process that you have to have through content. You can't learn 16 chapters in 3 weeks. It's physically impossible to retain any of that knowledge. It just can't be done unless you have a memory, I guess. Very few of my students have, all I can say. So it's up to me to control the pace of the release of the content, right? And you guys know your course, you know your students, you know how they function. I didn't want my students to be ahead too much of the class. I didn't want my students to be behind too much. I want to try to keep a pretty good gap, or keep them all kind of collected and sorted out. When I opened up everything, I had some students that jumped in the last week trying to do a whole course in 1 week. That's not the purpose of them coming to class. It's not their work. And you're going to walk out of here and you have learned nothing, right? So I want to make sure you learn in the pace that I'm covering things, so I can kind of see where you are and where you're struggling, so I can help you, right? That's kind of my purpose as a teacher. So instead of doing that, I will click this individually button that is right next to the info, and it now lets me go in and shift each individual. Now, if you want to open up one folder at a time and have all those assignments in that 1 week folder be the same, you can totally do that. That's a pretty good pace, right? I'm saying I just use the Learn Smarts, which are the LS with the black box, as a pre-class assignment. That's how they work the best for me and my students. So I wanted those to be open and closed before they even come to class. They should have been in there, read the book, engaged in the content. So when you come to me, you're not going to sit there looking like I just, what? I'm speaking Swinglish kind of thing. You will come, you will have a little bit of an idea of what's in the book. When I talk about the very basic concepts, you're going to go, oh, yeah, I read about that, right? That also gave me a chance to dig in and see, before I talk about chapter 1, I can see where the class is struggling before they even come to me. This is awesome, right? Because then my hour up here will be very beneficial. I'm not just going to talk about things that half the class got. What's going to happen then? Facebook, right? Or Instagram, I guess it is these days. Too old. If I talk about things that half the class hasn't even understood, same reaction, right? They're going to be, I have no idea what this teacher's talking about. I'm going to go out on the internet, right? I work that way. If I were to sit here and look at cellular biology right now, after a few minutes, I'd be like, yeah, you know what? Let me find something that actually interests me a little bit more, right? Catches my attention.
It
So,
would be fun for me.
nice, relaxed reading. But that is kind of how you go in and manage. You go in, click on the calendar, set the date, set the time accordingly, and click save. And that's it. It updates, and it should flow into Blackboard and update. If, for some reason, it does not update on Blackboard, I just want to show you this as a little back window. You go into that course tool, you go into McGraw-Hill Higher Education, all you do is click Synchronize with Section. That's like your browser refresher. It brings Connect, anything you've done in Connect, everything students have completed or that's not being pushed over automatically, which it should, it just kind of refreshes it, right? So if students come and say, hey, I did this quiz, I don't see the grade in Blackboard, this is my first go-to. I click on this, and then I see if it moved over. A lot of times it did move over, and that was that. A lot of times it didn't move over because the student didn't do it. Or they did it after the due date, so there we go, right? So those kinds of tools are pretty good to know about. So changing dates, are we comfortable with this? Do we need another? And I'm telling you, this is a lot for you. Yeah, come on.
Just an observation, just remember, if you change a grade in Blackboard's D2M's grade book, and then you synchronize again, whatever grade you have in Connect is going to override that grade that you already changed in Blackboard.
Yep.
So you want to be careful whenever you do manual synchronization of grades. Right? So just be aware of that.
So that changes grades. I want to show you how to give students extensions, because I think that might happen. I had that happen once in a while. And I'm going to actually log out of yours, Kim, here real quick, and I'm going to jump into my account. I have some old student data.
While you're try logging in, do those dates that you created show up anywhere
Yes,
in Blackboard?
they should sit by every assignment and say, this is the time and the date,
It
this
should
is
say it on
opening
the
and time.
assignment.
Yep.
Okay. I can't get in there. Oh, there it is. As long as it's there.
So, Stephen, when is my course rolling?
Should be Wednesday.
Okay.
GBTC is that Wednesday. Going over ILP, Jeremy, and
I just.
What's IOP?
removing to individual login.
Well, that's right, we're getting 1 million logins.
So once you have students enrolled into your course, by the way, I'm gonna scroll down and show you. This button here on the home page, the student roster one, that was where we duplicated things when we started out. You can see the student's name and emails as they log in and register, right? So if you need to give extensions and such, we can do it from this page. I like to work on a more individual usually. Sometimes I would have students who would need extra time on everything. I would work off the roster at that point, right? Then you click in. So let's say chapter 10. We're talking about stress. That's pretty fitting considering fall is around the corner, I think. We're clicking into that assignment. We're selecting this one. I'm going to click down into that quiz. You can select one, you can select many, right? You can select the whole folder, you can select specific assignments from each folder. It's whatever extension you want to give that student, or the 3, or the 5, right? So once you've selected the assignments you want to provide the extension for, scroll up to the stack deck. We're going to go to manage dates. And once you have students enrolled, you will have this extension here. You do not currently have it because you don't have any students in there, right? But it will pop up as soon as you get that one student into your Connect Blackboard, this will pop up. Click on the extension tabs, select whichever students you want to have an extension for those assignments, add a date when it's going to open, add a date when it's going to close. If you want to add the time limit, they want longer time, you can put that in here. Say they should have an hour instead of 30 minutes on the quiz. You put that in there, or if they should just have another attempt, right? Go in here, select that, click save, and it's going to filter through. And this little symbol right here is going to pop up next to the students that have the extensions. So you will see that they have that extension. And they will be able to go in and do their work during that time window you gave them. So you can be very selective here. If it's the thing where all students, you want to open up a whole assignment for all students, should you do this or should you just change the due date or open it up again? So like the whole class, you want it open up for the whole class?
Change the due date.
Yeah, I would change the due dates, absolutely. This is more specifically.
This is
I
like for
had-
a student who has accommodations and needed something or special circumstances.
Yep.
Or something.
Yep. And even if I had a student that came with a disability letter from the Student Disability Service, I would probably go in here, which I had a few, and, why is it not here? Manage, yeah, here we go. So you can go in, click manage on the student roster, and say, all right, this student should have an additional 10% or 30% of everything in Connect.
Oh, wait.
And
we
they go
did
back.
that.
So you're back on the home page here, where you find the course. So where we duplicated, we did all that and started out. So you click on the student roster, and depending on which student, you see how there's now, these students have extensions already in place. So I want to give it to Juan. I click manage, and now I can give him extra on anything in Connect. That one-time kind of deal. If that's what they need, then for completion, then we can do it this way. That way you don't have to go into all these and select. But that way you have some flexibility in who you provide extensions for and where and when and for what, technically. You can be very targeted with who gets an extra attempt. I started getting more and more targeted. Unless it was a disability request, I was very targeted. I went in and gave student-specific ones. I just didn't, I guess I was a JADA teacher. I didn't buy much of my students' excuses because I had 5 grandmothers die in one semester for one student. It's like, I'm not buying this anymore, so no. So so depending on kind of where you want to go with this, you can do that. So I don't want to overwhelm you. I wanted to go in and show you some of the assignments, but you guys can do that. If you start clicking into the assignments, and you're like the Learn Smart one is a very different assignment than your interactives and your quizzes. Interactives are click and drag, multiple choice, match it up. Quizzes is just what it is, a quiz. The Learn Smart is going to work on mastery for every student to find that student's knowledge gaps in the text. So it's going to take that ebook, plop it up here in front of every student. It's going to ask them individually adaptive questions. So my learning path through the Learn Smart assignment is way different than yours because we know different things. We're struggling with different things. I will struggle more because I have never read this. And you're going to be able to fly through this. The point with the Learn Smart, it's built on mastery. It's a do or don't assignment. That's all I want you guys to know. Because those are usually where the students, until they get what it is, they are like, I'm in here forever. I'm answering 500 questions. It will never, the system is broken. It's not broken. If the system is broken, no students can go in there and do it, period. You will not have 5 students being able to do it and 20 not. Then it's something on their computer, it's a login error, it is something else but the system, right? The system is everybody cannot do it or they can. I'm gonna, in our follow-up email, give you a quick link. It's called System Checker. You put in your school email, you select Connect, and everything in that folder on Connect. And our system will email you the minute there's an actual problem with Connect or any of the assignments on Connect. You will get an email instantly. It'll say, as of this time, this date, this is what's happening. Once the issue is resolved, which happens really quickly most of the time, they will send you another email saying, hey, it's fixed. So if students had an issue, you will know if it was between those windows. Otherwise, everything's fine, right? I'm just saying this because I know how students tend to operate. And if they notice that you guys are uncertain on some of these, they're like sharks. They smell blood in the water. They're coming to get you, right? So just think of the Learn Smart as a different assignment. If you want to learn more about it, you can do WebEx with me. I'd love to do that. We can meet at home through WebEx or through a computer if you want to do that. Claire can do it. Patrick can do it. We'll be happy to sit down and kind of walk you through those assignments. We have some videos to show you what they are. We have how to register and how to pair videos, but I think maybe this recording would be more helpful. So I'm going to step away from the Connect piece and ask Kamal to come up, and we're going to try to do our SimNet.
Good job, Mona.
Thank you.
Very good job.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I noticed you kept saying to you, we don't want to overwhelm you, we don't want to overwhelm you. And it is true. There's at least 2 or 3 different ways you could do the same thing in these products. And once you get comfortable and you know how to navigate in and out, it becomes whatever style is most convenient for you. So again, my name is Kamal Kakish. I'm a professor at Georgia Gwinnett College, and I have been there for the last 8 years. We have about 13,000 students, and we have a course that is required of every student regardless of their major. It's called Intro to Computing, iTech 1001. It's a 4-credit-hour course, and the course has 2 portions. It has the concepts portion, which is what you've seen in Connect here, and it has the office applications. We teach 4 chapters of Word, 4 chapters of Excel, 3 chapters of PowerPoint, and 3 chapters of MS Access. And so I happen to be the course coordinator as well as the SIMNet admin for the college. So right about this time, I basically create the template or the shell and I distribute it to all 50-some instructors that teach the course, because in any given semester we have some 90 plus sections of the course. Our class sizes are small, 26 to 28 maximum, and we focus very much on the engagement with the students and the hands-on and so forth. Okay, so they mentioned, Claire mentioned earlier, actually she's the one who got me to become a DFC, or what you call a digital faculty consultant. I like to think of myself as an evangelist for SIMNet. I mean, I would go around everywhere and just promote this because I've used different products in the past. And the more I use SIMNet, the more I like it and the more I like to promote it. So before I get in, I don't know about the challenges that you face, but for me and my colleagues, our biggest problem is called time. So this is a 4-credit hour course. We try to shove a 10-pound load into a 3-pound bucket, in essence. If you think about how many assignments the students have to do, 4 chapters in Word, 4 in Excel, 3 and 3 and 6 chapters in concept. For each chapter they do a project and they do a simulation. So if you look at my grade book, it's 3 miles long. Okay? And so the biggest challenge is that we face as faculty and the students face is how can you minimize the time and maximize the learning? And hence the idea of adaptive learning and adaptive teaching, which I have become very, very profoundly interested in. In fact, I published a paper and it won the best paper at the ISACON conference last year to show how adaptive learning has improved the pass rate, the performance of the students, saves them time, and saves the faculty time. Okay? So you can take the course as is and teach every single line and every single word in the course, or you could choose to take the course and interact with the students and say, let me find out how much you know, how much you don't know, and let me let you learn what you do not know. And the stuff that you know, you already know, why teach it to you again? And hence, this is the idea behind adaptive. And the way SIMNet does adaptive teaching and learning is through what they call SIMPaths. Everything starts with SIM, as in keep it simple, for simplicity in SIMNet. I think you made a great choice going with SIMNet for your college, and I think you will enjoy it and benefit tremendously. So I'm going to.
You're in Kim's
I'm
account
already
right now.
logged in.
Yeah, I'm in Kim's account right now. So.
Perfect. Okay. So I'm going to show you the 2 sides of SIMNet, the instructor side and what the student sees. Okay. I'm going to show you how SIMPaths or this adaptive works. I'm going to show you how the students see it. I'm going to show you how you can manage your dates and times and so forth, even giving an extension to a student to take time and a half and whatnot. So up until 2 or 3 years ago, the way we managed classes were you would have to go on this side here and manage every element or every item by itself. Until Office 2016 and SIMNet 2016, when they introduced this wonderful feature called Organize, where you can organize your entire course.
It's the first class student seminar master course.
This one.
Yep.
All right. Excellent. So this Organize feature allows you to see everything that you have inside all of the content and the assignments and the quizzes and so forth that you have inside your course and manage them from this one central location. Question?
How do we get into
Can they get logged in first?
Ah, sorry.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Sorry, y'all.
Very good point. Very valid
Yeah, so
point.
y'all are gonna go to, I don't know if y'all can read this up here, but it says West Georgia Tech BUS.simnetonline.com.
Yes. Sorry.
And you can always, on your home computer or your office computer, bookmark these two, mhhn.com and the West Georgia Tech BUS.
Yeah.
Send
And
it
we'll
online.
send these in the follow-up as well, so y'all have them in. BUS.
BUS.
And so if you do the pairing, like Mona showed you in Connect, you can pair Simnet through Blackboard as well, where the students have a single sign-on, they sign into Blackboard,
Simnetonline.com.
and they get to Simnet, you get to Simnet, and they get to Simnet the same way you get to Connect from Blackboard. You click on the assignment in Blackboard, and you will find yourself inside Simnet working on that side.
Yeah, and we'll go through that after we get through Simnet, but your username is gonna be the first letter of your first name and then your last name, so mine's C. White. And then the password is welcome123 with a capital W as well. And I've already copied over all of your sections, so you guys should have access to your sections as well. Oh, yep, so you're gonna go to West Georgia Tech.
Are we all in Simnet?
.simnetonline.com.
Oh,
Yep.
I think you're in that area you were trying now.
okay,
Now I can follow it.
Okay, now
There you
that
go.
looks better. That looks better.
Good.
All right, very good, very good. Are you, plugged in? Welcome.
I'm watching you.
I'm signed in as
Yeah.
well, okay. Okay. Who else? Okay, you're in there. And you're in there. And you're logged in.
I am logging in.
Okay, welcome 1, 2, 3.
So if you go, where's your email?
You go
I
to the
think
new
so.
envelope.
It was,
Excellent.
there were two
Very good.
different emails.
Okay.
I just typed in West Georgia Tech BUS.
It won't take that because it's a secure site. You have to do the
Really?
secure. Yeah, it won't.
Oh, yeah.
Slash slash. Colon.
West Georgia Tech Bus. I didn't have the colon, that was.
Okay,
There you are.
are we all in there?
Yep.
Looking at this screen.
Yep.
So do me a favor, from your screen, if you don't see this already, come to this left
First
side
initial,
menu
last
here, under classes, and click manage, and then click organize, or organizer, organize, okay? So this way you look at the entire course that you have to teach, and again, keeping the same spirit of not wanting to overwhelm you up front, we will keep it as simple as possible. And the first time you teach the course, you just teach it as is. And as you're teaching it, you will be learning more and more navigation. You'll become an expert in Simnet before you know it. And then you'll be able to,
So our classes will eventually show up here.
They should already be in.
yes.
There's been some added sections already in there, or that have been added, so.
Manage and then organize, right?
Then organize, and then you wanna select this one that says,
You can just review the recording.
COLL 1090, first class,
Okay.
right? You wanna select this?
No, mine's not a master course, it already has my CRN.
Yep, that's the one you're gonna go into.
Okay, alright.
Good. Okay?
Just pick one.
The
No.
I
one-
have a whole bunch of them, so I just pick one.
Which one is the one they're
1090.
teaching?
They should only have the ones in there that they're teaching, so it doesn't matter which one you go
So it doesn't
into.
matter which one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so far.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
So.
So,
Can you do that? I'm like, no.
so you notice that, this final exam I created for you, that's got 32 questions in it, notice that in your case it was on the top here,
Yeah.
and in my case I brought it down so because it looks better down here. So go ahead and click on yours and move it down all the way to the bottom. Okay? So I have to make a confession. I've had a retina surgery not long ago, and my vision is a little bit limited, so I'm gonna make my screen a little bigger. Okay? Otherwise, I'd have to use this all the time. And I don't want
I'm
to.
still saying,
Go right ahead,
Okay.
We all have glasses.
we all have glasses, so we understand.
All right. Very good. Okay, so here's what we have for you. If you did not have this course, you would need to come here on this left-hand side and you create lessons and sim books and exams. You would have to create all of that stuff. And you would be more than happy to do it probably in the future if you want to. For now, we created it all for you. And we have a course where we teach Word. I'm gonna put Word up here. So we have the essential skills. And if I click and open the essential skills, you'll have this. That is for Essential Skills for Office 2016. Now, you heard about dates and how important dates are, correct? So I want to encourage you to, once you have your schedule for the semester, and you got your syllabus, and you decide when you're going to teach this, you will come here and select the start date. That is the date it will be available to the student to see. Then you will have a due date, and that is a date, is this not editable? Here, okay? Yeah. Let me see why that is. Just a second here. Okay. Yeah, custom order. You should be able to come here and click on these dates and times. Wait a minute, because we need to click to enable the dates right here. So we can enable the dates, or we can leave them without any dates and times. So you want to decide what the start date is. You want to decide what the due date is, and let me explain to you the difference between the due date and an end date. All right? So let's say I'm teaching these skills here. I want the assignment to be done by Friday, 11:59 p.m. Okay? So I'll come here and I'll put the due date to be this Friday the 3rd at 11:59. Okay? However, knowing that there will always be slackers, I will give them an end date. That is the difference between the due date and when they can no longer access the assignment at all. So an end date is there to save their butt if they do not make the due date. And how much you want to penalize for going past the due date is something that you decide here for late submission. I'll show it to you on another one because this one is not expecting is not assigned a grade, so therefore you won't be able to see it. Let's go and look at Word. And in Word, I'm going to show you what we call the sim path here. I know this looks a little overwhelming in that there's too many. Okay, I'll explain the sim path to you in a second. But when you assign a due date for something, again, that I'm here, we need to enable the dates, okay? And you have the due date here that, let's say I'm gonna make it this Friday, and then I will have the end date, and the end date, I'm going to extend it until Sunday night, say 11:59 p.m. And if they do not submit it by the due date, I wanna penalize them 10%. Okay? Or 20%, or however you wanna do. I usually get, the system will deduct 10% of the assignment if it's submitted after the due date and before the end date. Once we reach the end date, that's the end of it. They will no longer be able to access it. Too late. Okay? So, now, like I said, we have for you 2 chapters in Word, 2 chapters in Excel. Again, you can organize these as you please, and the 2 chapters in PowerPoint. Now, we talked about adaptive, finding out what you know, what you don't know. In the Connect case, you went through the interactive part. It asks you a question, you answered the question, and in the end, it highlighted something in green that you knew, and in yellow what you didn't know. In SimNet, the way we do adaptive is by following the following process. We start with what we call a pretest, which is a simulation. So we're doing a pretest on Word Chapter 1. Very basic stuff. Most students have used Word, and they pretty much know the basics in Word. So they go through and they get asked a series of simulated questions. For example, they will see a screen that says, move to the 3rd paragraph, select the 4th word, and bold it or underline it. Okay? They know how to do that? Excellent. They go on to another question. In our case, the first chapter has some 43 questions in it. So once they finish the set of questions, the 43 questions on chapter 1, suppose they get 20 of the 43 correct. Then the system will create a personalized individual lesson for that particular student that is different than all other students. And that lesson is going to contain the objectives of the 23 questions that they missed. They got the 20 correct, we're done with that.
So if you've got a student that's really, really bright, they can test out of that section.
If they get 100 on the pretest, they're done.
Oh, cool.
Awesome.
They go on to do the project. Because the project is using the actual product, Word, MS Word 2016 itself, right? So how you want to keep the score of, you want the pretest has a grade, the lesson, individual lesson has a grade, and the final test, which we call the post-test, also has a grade. Okay? I personally only keep track of the post-test, okay? Because I want to test them on what they did not know. The stuff that they knew already, that's fine, okay? And so this is how it works. So if I go and take a look at it from the student's point of view, so I'm going to go here and go to Sim Student. Go ahead and do that with me if you will. And you see those groups that we were looking at, the essentials, the Excel, the Word. Here's some resources for you. So I'm going to click on Word, and you notice how everything is color-coded. So the adaptive part, the sim path, is gold or yellow. And if I go into the sim path for chapter 1, notice right now there's no date or anything. So I can assign the dates to it, the due date and the end date. Once the end date has passed, they will see it, but they won't be able to do anything with it because it's passed. So click on the sim path with me, if you will, and here's the 3-step process that I just described for you. So I begin by taking the pretest. So personally, I make the pretest mandatory for everybody. Some professors just let them go straight to the post-test. I think that's doing the students a disservice. They gotta go through the pretest first, then they get a customized, personalized lesson created specifically for that particular student, and then they get tested on the delta. So I take the pretest. Go ahead and take the pretest with me, if you will. Get a feel for what the students are going to. So we start the exam, right? And what am I being asked here? It says, using the right-click method, fix the spacing error in the second paragraph. Okay, first paragraph, second paragraph, okay, using the right-click, okay. There, voila. Okay, are you with me?
Wait a minute.
Now, you may be getting a different question than the one I am getting, right?
Okay.
They're all, there's a set of questions, they're all the same pretty much, but depending on, the simulator shows different questions at different times.
Oh, how do I go back?
Okay, where are we?
Depending on what chapter and what SimPath you're
Okay.
clicking on, it's gonna look different, please remember
Okay,
that.
so you're on one.
We're on chapter one
Chapter 1 of Word,
of Word.
Okay,
the SimPath, take the pretest.
all right, okay.
Yes, select to take the pretest.
So.
I don't think we have time for you to go through all 43 questions today.
For chapter one, right?
Where's the question?
Yes.
Lord, I were admitted.
That's fine, that's,
Dawn,
yeah,
And yes, please.
yeah. Okay, are we good so far? So far, so good? Okay,
Yeah.
Okay, so start.
so do me a favor and answer one question correctly and answer another question incorrectly to see what the students will see.
Wait a minute now, this is what I came up with. Did anybody come up with that sport business card?
Let me answer for you.
You wanna do some?
Considering I can't even read.
Oh, you're fine, it's
No,
my class is not.
It's a distance thing.
Are you
Like she
answering?
exited out and started.
Do you need readers?
If I just need to read it now, my thing is,
Okay.
so I can read it, but I gotta get close enough to read it.
I'm gonna go
All right, just so you guys know, when you go into SimPath, everyone's gonna have a different topic in that one.
Yeah, it
So
should
if you have two students sitting next to each other, they can't cheat and see the same question at the same time,
Yes.
right? Everybody's gonna have a mixed bag of question coming at them.
In fact,
Yeah, all the tasks will be up.
in fact, I submit to you
I am
that
so glad you
no
told me
two
that.
students will get the exact same
Okay, all
test.
the tasks are at the top.
Yeah.
The content is still the same, the number of easy, medium, and difficult questions is still the same, but nobody gets, they're all randomized and they're all individualized. Okay, so I'm going to remove this and it says, look at that, it says I did it incorrectly. So I'm gonna click OK. Now while we're here, let me show you a couple of things. There, as you can see on question 2 of 43, I can go through the questions like this, or I can click on this icon menu and load all of the questions, see the ones that I like or the ones that I know how to do. I want to click that one, I know how to do that one, and load the question individually, and this way I can answer it that way. Notice there is a counter running, right? There is a timer running, so a pretest is not designed to teach you anything. It's designed to find out what you already know, what you don't know. And therefore, there should be no effort spent in finding out what the correct answer is. You either know it or you don't know it. Otherwise, we defy the purpose of the adaptive learning. Okay? So there's the timer. There's the questions individually, and I'm done with one. Okay, I'm done with with my pretest. Okay, and I will exit the exam, and then I will see, and then it will take me on to the lesson. And again, the lesson will have all of the objectives of the questions that I missed on the pretest. I take the lesson, and the lesson is the textbook and has these wonderful features called Show Me, Guide Me, and Let Me Try. Some of the best ways to learn. So I I serve more as a facilitator than a teacher in the classroom, in that the students are learning on their own. So this is the skill of creating a new blank file. Okay, very basic skill here. And if we have volume, you will be able to hear.
It's there. It's very quiet.
Oh, okay. Okay, so they hear it. I encourage them to bring their earbuds with them to class when they go through that, so they can, not everybody has to hear it, right? So that is how they show me. The guide me will take a series of steps. Let's say an event, creating a blank file, you click File, New, and then you name it and you save it, right? 4 or 5 steps in. The guide me will ask you first, click File, next, click New. It takes you one step at a time. It guides you step by step on how to do it. The Let Me Try, there's no help. That is, you've seen it once, you've done it step by step, and now you do it on your own. And that is the Let Me Try. Okay? And that is, so create a new blank file, and I would have to go here, and new, and blank, and voila, I got it correctly. And now I go on to the next objective and the next skill. Once I go through all of the skills, then I can exit the simulation, and then I am done with my lesson. And then I can go on to the post-test. You could choose to let them skip the lesson. You could choose not to let them skip the lesson. They would be fools if they skipped the lesson and went on to the post-test because they haven't learned anything in the lesson. Some instructors choose to let the students skip the lesson if they want to. Okay? I don't. I make it mandatory that they finish the lesson. At least, I ask them to do at least the Let Me Try in the lessons. If they don't want to do the show me and the guide me, they got to do the Let Me Try in the lessons. Okay? And once they finish the lesson, then they're ready to take the post-test. Now, what do you reckon the post-test is going to have in it? The questions that were in the pre-test that was answered incorrectly. And that's what the post-test is. Remember, I got 2 out of the 43 correct, or something like that? So I should be having all of them. I got all of them incorrect. Okay? So I get 100% of the post-test. Okay? Again, I only account for the post-test grade in the grade book. The grades for the lesson and for the pre-test are there. If you want to average them, that's up to you. Having done this for several years, I concluded that the best way to assess how well they learn is just to take what the post-test. Now, you may get a situation when there is maybe 20 questions on the pre-test and they answered 18 of them correctly. Now they're going to have 2 questions or 2 objectives on the post-test. Let's say they miss one of the 2. That's 50%. Think about that. But again, I believe the way to assess what they learned is by asking what they got wrong the first time. Okay? So this is how the SIMPATHs work. And I'm going to get out of the SIMPATH for the interest of time and show you what we do next. Okay, so here's the grade. Here's all that. Whenever I'm done with something, I can always go to assignments and click on the assignments. I'm going to go into the Word. As you can see, SIMPATH 1 is now unavailable because I've gone through it. Okay? Now SIMPATH 2. So what we do, SIMPATH, pre-test, lesson, post-test, followed by a hands-on project. Independent, non-guided, no hints, nothing. So you're in there using Microsoft Word, and here's what the project that follows the lessons. There's always, and we highly encourage them to read the best practices that come with the project, because that's the best thing that they could do. Most of them don't, so we force them to read the best practices at least the first time, okay? And so we download the best practices, and we read them, or we download them, we print them, however we want to do that. Then we go back. I acknowledge. Okay. So projects, there is 3 steps to doing a project. We read the best practices and we download the file that has the instructions in it. So here is the instructions for Windows based, and here are the instructions for those that have a Mac. So if you got Mac users, they download the Mac instructions, and the grader knows the difference between the two. So I download the instructions here, and I teach the students to try and split the windows or stack them. We're still using Windows 7 where I come from, so I'm used to okay. All right. So let me not stack them.
I think you can undo shift stack if you go back to where you were just at.
Where? Here?
Like, yeah,
Ah,
yeah.
Okay.
And undo show all windows stacked.
Where is it?
Um,
Thank you. Okay. Now, so anyways, I try to let them split the screen into half so they can read the instructions on the one half of the screen and do work on the solution on the other side of the screen. So basically, they download the files. That's the best practices. Right, so we're done with the best practices. And we downloaded the file.
I think you might have X'd out when you were
All
trying
right,
to stack it.
let me go to Word and Project 1, and okay. So I download the instructions for Windows, and I open that. And I follow the instructions one by one by one by one. Okay? It says to do this. I open a Word document and I do the actual project for the instructions the way it tells me to do it here. If there are resources such as bring in a picture or bring in a resource from the outside, maybe bring in an Excel spreadsheet or a table from elsewhere. Okay? All of these resources are on the screen right here. All Office versions is for any instructions that asks the student to bring an additional resource from outside, a picture, a file, something to insert, and so forth and so on. Right. So they work on the Word document, they create their solution, and the system has 2 ways of checking for projects. There's what's known as the start file in SIMNet. And that is, if you're familiar with watermarking, when you photocopy a transcript, right? SIMNet does digital watermarking in that each student's solution file is injected with a unique code specific to that student. So anywhere across the entire universe of SIMNet, whether it's in Australia or in New York or here, or 7 years ago, or last week. If anybody tries to copy from anybody else, they won't be able to bring a copy of someone else into their own unique code. And so there's 2 ways to deal with that, okay? If they try to upload it and you allow for integrity violations, then they will be able to upload it and it will show in your gradebook as an integrity violation with an ugly red mark that you can go back and then deal with. Or you could choose to prevent any integrity violations altogether. So if I go back here and on the instructor side, and I look at this project right here, word project, and I do not want to allow for integrity violation, then where is it?
It's
Right
right,
there.
right there.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, so this allows submission with integrity violation. If I click that out, they won't be able to upload it. Of course, they will call you and text you, and you're gonna be very kind to them and say, why don't you call tech support? See what they say. I'm not gonna assume that you're cheating, right? Yeah, so,
I'm call Stephen.
I know we kind of jumped all over the place here, but this again is just a glimpse of what you would deal with in terms of the adaptive part of SIMNet. And so again, when you're ready to do to teach the course, you enable the dates. If everybody is teaching it at the same time, then we can set the dates for one course and just push them out to everybody else. Everybody gets the same dates and the same times. Otherwise, everybody manages their own date. When I create the template for my 50 instructors, I just keep the dates blank. I used to load them with dates and then they change them. Now I just keep them blank and they set their own dates. So, and there's the late submission. So, in our case, when we allow the students to upload the file and then it gets graded, in our case, we're more interested in them learning what they did wrong than dinging them for what they did wrong. And so we allow for 3 attempts to upload the project. You upload it the first time, the grader comes back and shows you this is what you did wrong, this is what you did right, and so you fix what you did, and the grader is very comprehensive, and it goes very detailed. It shows you in red the step and the sub-step of the instruction that you got incorrect. And so they go back and fix it, upload it a second time. Again, we're more interested in them learning than just giving them a bad grade. So we allow them 3 attempts to upload the project. 1 attempt for the pre-test, and for the lesson and for the post-test. Okay? If the student gets stuck, for example, when they're taking a post-test, let me see. Let me go to some student here.
You'll have to jump back in.
Yeah, okay. No, we'll go to the assignments here, okay? And let's see. And I forgot what I was going to show you.
It's something in the sim path. I think I'm not sure what the.
You said something in the post test.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
You said something about showing us something in the post test.
I forgot. It's just I'm sorry. But that's basically what you have. Pre-test, customized, personalized lesson, post-test. When they're done, they go on and they do a project. They have 3 attempts for the project. When they're done the entire thing, we give a final exam for Word alone, again, because we do 4 chapters of each. A final exam for Excel, 1 for PowerPoint, and 1 for Access. And we call these common assessments. And we track all of the grades. There's all kinds of reports that you could do in SIMNet. But we track all of the grades and we figure out, because we run some 5,000 to 6,000 students in this course every year, we want to maintain commonality across the board. And so those common assessments, they're common because everybody gets the same exam. not exactly the same exam, but the same number of questions in terms of difficulty. For example, on a common assessment, we give 25 questions. 15 are easy, randomly selected from the test bank, and these are the same as you see in the simulation, the pre-test and the post-test. 15 are easy, 7 are medium, 3 are difficult. But not everybody gets the same 3 difficult questions because the test bank randomly selects from them.
No, if you have
Okay.
more, keep going.
So-
And just to tie to that, do you guys, so we have the smart book, which is individually adapted, and we have the SimPaths. That might be something you might not have had previously. Do you think your students will see value in that and being able to zone in into their kind of areas that they're struggling with and get that kind of personal tutoring,
We've used the
Kinda
sim
fun.
with the sim pass,
right?
because we use it now with, they're familiar with it.
Okay.
The course.
The BUSN courses.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's also one of the.
So the alternative to the SimPath is to have what we call the Sim book, which is the red tab, which is the entire chapter, not the customized lesson for each student.
They like this better.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The US.
This saves you time, saves them time, and when you have time to lecture on something, you will focus on concepts that are difficult. For example, I spent quite a bit of time on pivot tables in Excel. In Access, most students, you don't teach Access, but most students have difficulty with Access because they didn't have any experience with it. Yeah.
We
So-
teach access in the other class. So
Okay.
what this class is a mini that class, because it was part of our, it was part of the main group is because we have a lot of our trade tech students still need computer skills, but they don't need this teaching the system classes. So
Right.
that's why we didn't think trade tech needed access, but they do need Excel, PowerPoint, Word. And,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of moving pieces here, and I can tell you guys are like a little maybe overwhelmed at this point.
You ain't
There's a
kidding.
lot.
I don't
But-
know if I'm gonna be able to teach or not, I think I'm gonna be able to.
No, I'm.
Well,
I'm
the
telling
content
you.
is there for
Yeah.
you, right?
Yeah.
So the content is, in all honesty, I tell you this, I've been doing this for 8 years now. As time goes by, you find yourself more as a facilitator than a teacher, because the simulator teaches them. They learn by themselves. And the ability to only learn what they don't know makes them, makes the time, more valuable for them. Now, I keep track of how the entire class is moving, okay? I do not allow the start date to be any sooner than, say, a week at most, than when it really begins. So if we are in Word and we're about to move to Excel, the end date of Word will be the first week of Excel. So any laggers, slackers will be able to catch up, right? But nobody will be able to start Excel before we have finished Word and taken the test, the exam for Word, the common assessment. Okay? If it helps, I can show you, if there's a USB drive, I'll show you real quick how I do the schedule and how set the.
So you guys
Yeah.
have you have your some of your previous materials are still with you, right? Then we have our connect pieces to kind of add on, and then we have SimNet to kind of make sure we wrap around for other topics. Since connect and SimNet is the Excel and the Word, and connect is the more how to study, time management, those kinds of pieces.
Did we connect SimNet to
Nope,
Blackboard?
that's our last
Yep.
step to do.
Okay.
And that's
Yeah,
what I'm
that's
trying
I
to
was
we're
gonna
gonna
say
step
something.
we're gonna
Yeah.
start with the pairing and finish with the pairing.
Okay,
So
if I may show you what the exam looks like, the common assessment or the final exam looks like. Does it look any different than the simulation that you've seen in the pre-test and the post-test? Pretty much the same thing. Same thing, but not the same questions, right? Because it'd be a different scenario, it'd be the same functionality. And here I have them mixed up such that you get, in this case, you start with Excel. Since this is a final exam and it's going to cover Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, So the simulator randomly selects what is the first question, what's it, and again, it looks pretty much like the same, like the pre-test and the post-test. So they can take them individually, they can go back and go through them like that, okay? And the timer is running again, they cannot exceed the time. Just wanted to show you quickly what I do relative to the
So that's pretty cool actually, because then you will eliminate academic dishonesty. And this is really funny because I noticed students will probably react the same way as they do in Connect with a smart book. When they realize they're not getting the same questions as their fellow students next to them, they will come and out themselves. Be like, I didn't get that question. Why are you looking at someone else's exam, right?
So let me show you my
It's funny,
latest.
they will tell them themselves sometimes. You just gotta step back and they will, they'll do it.
Shirley Osmond does a whole bunch of conduct things on this. They accidentally, or they'll think they'll submit somebody else's work, and she catches them every time. Code conduct.
So I've got a couple questions while
Yes,
sure.
you're pulling this up. The first one is in terms of accessibility for students. Once this is in our Blackboard courses, besides logging in to the Connect and SendNet, are students responsible for any types of codes or purchasing anything?
Yeah, the codes are in the books
Yep.
already.
And so actually, this URL that y'all have for this specific course is different than the URL that they use for the BUSN course. It's just for SimNet.
Right.
So when the students go in and connect, they're only going to have to enter in one code, and that's going to be for Connect. And then they'll have not free access, but they'll have immediate access to the SimNet as well. So they're only going to have to connect one code. And when they go through the registration process, which I guess we probably shouldn't, it may take a little bit too much time. I know we're already running over on time. But basically, they'll click on an assignment, and it's going to take them through the registration process. They're going to have to enter in an email and a password. And then they're going to have three options when they go through. It's going to either start their 14-day courtesy access, enter in an access code, or purchase it online. They're not going to purchase anything online. The cheapest option is going to be in the bookstore. If they purchase it
How much
on,
that's gonna cost?
Well, the price to the bookstore is $55.
That's for the code in the book.
That's
No, just the
for-
code.
just
the code,
yeah,
the
the
code.
codes
Right,
for
the
both
code.
SimNet and Connect.
That's both. That's
Yep.
Right.
That's both.
Yeah, so if they purchase it online, they're going to be spending more money than if they purchase it in the bookstore.
And we can help you with wording on that. We
Yeah.
can give you wording to put in the syllabi and say, I mean, I can even try to get in there and do some screenshots and do this is how you register for the Connect piece. And then just kind of X over the purchase here and say do not purchase online, purchase from the bookstore. And put some wording in for you guys to put in your syllabi.
And that will include the SimNet access as well.
Mhm.
Now, and SimNet doesn't start till almost the third or fourth week of class.
Right.
So then you're,
Second week.
is it second?
Second and third, send that.
Yeah.
Connect is 4 through 16.
Alright, so this is how we do it. I don't know how you do it. We start with a couple of chapters in the concepts, then we move on to Word. Then we do two more, one concept, and then we go on to Excel. And I do everything color-coded, as you can see here, okay? And then we do one more chapter, then we go on to PowerPoint. And I'm more than happy to give this to you if you want to do something similar. We do one concept chapter, and then we go on to Access, and the last chapter, and then the final exam. You notice the end dates, I have them here. Also, I will show you that I have a lot of comments for them here, the academics calendar for the semester here. But most importantly are these two here. These two lines will show the students, and I give this to the students as well, will show the students what is due when, any given day. Here's the date, and here's the date, and here is what's due that day. So if they have to do a SimPath, if they have to do a project, here are the projects, here's the syntax that are due, and so forth and so on. So I don't know if you are doing the MH campus pairing or the deep integration. We do the deep integration.
Blackboard only do one way.
Yeah.
Okay,
They only do the deep. So you
Yeah,
guys are
and
saying.
yeah, we can take y'all through that really quick.
and that is
Um,
wonderful.
yeah.
Deep integration
Right.
just makes life
Yeah.
wonderful.
So let's go through that.
Yeah.
And kind
Okay.
of wrap it up because I think you guys are
Yeah.
maybe ready for a second helping of the food at some point soon. I think there's cookies and such also.
Can I suggest one thing before I stop talking with you? Give me just a second. We used to do this ourselves at GGC, and we would bring in the McGraw-Hill folks and ourselves, and we tried to teach people and so forth and so on. You could never get everybody interested in showing up. You could never teach everybody hardly anything in 2 hours or 3 hours. You heard of Patrick Havens and his team of trainers. They are wonderful. Honestly, you set up a 45-minute one-on-one WebEx personalized training session. They are good teachers, far better teachers of these products than we are the users of them, because they do this for a living. And this is what I asked anybody who's new, anybody who needs a refresher. They sign up, get on their calendar, get on WebEx, you look at your screen, they look at their screen, and they step you step by step by step. Here's what you do, here's what you do, here's what you do. And before you know it, you feel a lot more comfortable. Otherwise, it's really a lot.
And
Especially
you
in the
can
beginning.
use them however many times you want to. There's no
Once we
time
class.
limit. Or, you know, I would say go to Patrick, use us as resources. Your students you will send to our customer support, right? And I would say keep referring the students to customer support because they will help with registration. They will help with any kind of tech problems they have on their computer. That's something that I came across since students will bring their own laptops and own kind of material. We can't control it, and you guys can control the pop-up blockers, the safety settings on those laptops, right? And actually, some students doesn't even know how to use their own laptop in that, right? They don't know how to disable pop-up blockers. Our tech support will do that, right?
How does this operate with Apple products?
It works. Yep, it works fine.
We have a hard time.
Yep.
with that.
No, Apple works. If anything, if it comes to, if there's any a smidge of a student complaining about it, tell them to download Puffin browser. It's free. It's like Safari. It's called Puffin. It's got that big colorful beak for the bird, and it works perfectly. Everything, smart with everything. Runs on it.
So how do we get to your support?
In our follow-up email, I'm going to give you guys a number for it. I will send you a PDF that has 3 very basic steps for students to follow if they have any connect issue. Literally, step 1, 2, 3. I even said, if you haven't followed these steps, don't talk to me. That's just, I'm not. This is 3 steps for you to do. You know, there's a hyperlink they can click on that will check their computer in 2 seconds. Tell them, take away this pop-up blocker, put Java on there, do this, do that. Here's where you get it. There's one that tells them to clear their browser history and cache. Like it walks them through the step. Another hyperlink, just click on it, not becomes. The third one will be a hyperlink to our CXG. They click on that in the document. You can upload that into your Blackboard. They click on that, and here's your chat. Here's your phone number. This is when the times are open. Da 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 da. If there's something going on, and it very rarely is, that is actually a legitimate issue, the students will get a case number. It's very important to remember. Ask for that case number. Did you call support? Yeah. Well, where's your case number? Ask them to send it to you, and all you have to do is forward it to us, and we'll get our tech team to go into the back end and dig in, right? So it takes you off your plate. But just set those kind of processes in place and just kind of let the students know this is, just go do this, or I will not even.
And you're gonna send that to
Out
us?
in the follow-up, yeah.
It's in the
So
Connect folder.
we've already actually
Oh,
put it in
it's
the
in there,
master
put it in
course.
there, yeah, there you
And
go.
there's also, we put in this Connect orientation video. I would definitely assign that to your students because that's going to take them through SmartBook, how to navigate Connect. They basically have to watch this like 5-minute long video, and there's 5 different videos, and they have to acknowledge that they've gone in and watched the video.
I probably would want to supplement that for the SmartBook only because they're not going into Connect with the Blackboard integration. They will go straight into assignments, right?
Oh, that's true. So
They're not even going to need that Connect orientation. Is what I'm saying.
well, so I think it shows them. There's like 5 different videos, and I don't know if one of them.
We can
I'll double check
customize it. Yeah.
on what exactly are in there, but definitely the SmartBook video because it's going to take the student how to navigate SmartBook, how it works, and what they should be doing and what's expected of
So
them.
as we started out, here you can just select this folder, deploy it into your Blackboard, and those hyperlinks will come with. So you will have those in your Blackboard course. The students can click on the start here. They'll have the check your computer. They'll have all those literally within a click of their mouse. We all know if it's like more than 3 clicks, students won't look at it, right? They lose their interest. So maybe look at the, let's do the pairing.
Yeah.
Maybe, I
Let's
think.
do it.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
So once again, the $55 that students will pay, that is inclusive of both of these programs,
Yep.
correct?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Is everything ADA compliant?
So we have actually, I don't think anyone can say that they're ADA compliant, but we are working towards it. Our
Okay.
SmartBook is not, but we've worked with the Tech Schools ADA office at your TCSG
Yes.
office, and we have we have a form to fill out. It's just a 1-pager. If we send that into them and show them the progression, they said they're fine with that
Yeah.
on the TSG level. I think that McGraw is really the only one that's worked with them on that higher level.
And you
for
can
it.
send an email to me, and I can
Yep.
fill out the form and send it in.
So that we had our ADA people meet with them just on a higher level to say we are making progress. We're working on it towards ADA accessibility for the WCAG 2.0s. And they said as long as we can provide them with a roadmap, which we will, show them how this is being improved. If there is a piece where, like for instance, the SmartBook, we have a student who needs the prompts, reach out to us. We have our disability services that can actually print those out or for the LearnSmart probes, and we will work around towards completion of the course,
Okay.
which is kind of where it should be.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, so we're gonna go through the SimNet pairing. It's gonna be a little bit different than the Connect pairing. So right now I'm in one of the sections. I think the 20217. So I'm gonna go into lessons. I am going to go into partner content up here, and I'm gonna click on content market.
We're going shopping, people.
Yeah.
We're going shopping.
Alright, go to lesson.
And
Partner
content.
content. And then there's 2 different McGraw-Hill higher educations. You're gonna want to find the one that has a little drop-down arrow right here. You'll click on the drop-down arrow, and you're gonna see SimNet sitting there. You'll click on SimNet, and it is going to bring you to this page. It's gonna automatically put in the West Georgia Tech URL. All you need to add to that is BUS at the end.
I agree to share.
So go to
Okay,
lessons.
Okay,
So you
so
click
what,
on the
I'm on
Yep.
I'm on partner content, and then drop down menu.
And then partner content.
That is the right one.
Oh,
the
that's
right
why I'm
one?
taking notes.
Yep, and then you're gonna add BUS into that.
Okay, alright, so click on SimNet. Okay,
And then that should give you the
I agree to share my user information, I do not agree.
Yep.
All you have to do is add is the BUS.
Okay.
And then BUS,
Yeah.
Where was I supposed to put the
So
and then you're gonna add BUS to it.
WestGa Tech BUS.
Yep.
Yes.
new, right, or existing?
Yep, it's gonna be already existing, and you're gonna choose the course that you're pairing it with.
Okay, so
That's the first.
Right.
Yep.
Dun, dun,
Okay,
dun.
and the password welcome 1, 2, 3.
And then once you,
Anything like that on capitalized letters.
okay, it looks like all of y'all have already bypassed me. Y'all are good.
Yeah, I told her I'd text her when we were done.
So then it's gonna bring up all your courses that you have available. You're gonna wanna pair like you did with Connect, the right CRN number with the right SIMNet course, and make sure that they're aligning. You'll click next, it's paired, and you're gonna continue to SIMNet.
Alright.
Alright.
That is okay, so if you go, exit for me, I don't know, okay, we'll just exit out of that. We're gonna go back to Blackboard. Okay, and then we're gonna go to lessons, partner content, content market. And now you're actually gonna see your SIMNet course up there, so you can either go there or you can click on that one,
Okay,
and it will take you right back in.
okay.
Alright, is everyone at this screen?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. So, now we're gonna move everything over, you're gonna see. So you're gonna see two separate screens, you're gonna see all your assignments over here, and then this little root button. We're essentially moving everything over here to here. And so, I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna choose all of these. And you can just choose any one and drag it, oh, I might have to open up one of these. Drag it over to root, and it's gonna deploy your 14 assignments.
Can you take class home and move it over? The whole class home?
You know. Okay, so you
Okay,
clicked
I'm
on the
Dragon.
button where it says
You
class
can
home,
take the class home, okay. So yeah, if you choose the class home, it's gonna select everything.
right?
And then you'll choose class home. Kamal said you can choose the class home and drag it over to root. So you're gonna like drag.
Everything on your phone.
Mine ain't dragging.
You don't have to do any buttons.
Okay, so if
You might have to catch this.
I'm not in part of that. Okay, so you can also open up one of these tabs.
Let me just
It's
delete.
over and it's still gonna bring up all 14 assignments.
Grazie, grazie.
Yeah, it's, so you actually.
You're gonna have to tell him for thank you. It's not Spanish.
Down menus, but you're gonna have to choose an actual assignment to bring over, and then it's gonna deploy all 14. And you have to actually put it over the root thing.
You did it.
Nope.
But I want to do.
Yep, and like go a little bit over to the root where the root kind of highlights. Right. Yeah, it really is. Like the root has to kind of highlight. You're just over it.
So to open up, we're gonna do this. We're gonna open up Center Skills.
Right there. Yeah.
Oh, where the root
Yeah.
highlight. I mean, it's like y'all are speaking.
I'm sorry. I'm like, how do I explain this?
Yeah.
Okay, so I can leave them all like that, so.
No, well, so that
Is that
actually,
everything?
that added everything.
Or that
Yep.
little arrow or something.
So everything's already added over into your deployment.
Okay.
Open up class.
So click on essential.
So that's interesting, in Blackboard, they put
so-
everything in the roots.
Yeah, that's
In D2L, I create
Okay, yes,
two
it
folders. One I call for graded assignments, and the other for non-gradable resources.
it's weird how it works differently.
It should open it up.
So you actually have to open up one of these tabs. It's not working. It might be different with D2L. I've always done it this way. You actually, so when you, I was just trying to explain to her, when you drag it over, you almost have to drag it right over the root to where it highlights. Right there, yep, and now it's gonna deploy all 14 assignments.
And that's it.
It's kind of a tedious little
But
thing.
they don't have to do that for the PowerPoint tutorial.
No,
It's
everything's
all-
already
You
moved
got it.
over.
Yep, you got it.
Yep, and so now,
You're so.
and And yeah, so once you do that one click, everything's over.
So this is for every class,
Wednesday,
right?
Thursday, and
This is
Friday.
also with the, other topics, the connect. I have to go through all of them and then name my folder.
You don't have to name the folder for the Connect, you just choose that week that's already there, and then if you know,
The old stuff's going.
Okay.
remember, the folder's already there,
Or the old-
Blackboard.
Yeah, but it wouldn't make me do it unless I put a name of
Scared
it.
the crap out of me.
I click no,
Right.
Will you
and
show
then
me
when
how
I
to
hit
do it,
the
right?
next, like
Yep.
max or save or something. It
But
wouldn't.
mine's all good, Steve, I'm on point.
Okay.
You get a fresh copy.
That's why I just have a fresh brain that remembers what.
Oh gosh, so I gotta go back
So
and.
do I,
It's not working with the West home system. So if you click that assignment and drag it
I
over
don't know,
to
do we have
group,
to click the green?
it'll bring all
Yeah,
sorts
you gotta do
of
it.
stuff.
Do we have to
Yeah.
click this to finish it?
And so now that you're on this screen, you're gonna click finish deploy to
Yeah.
Blackboard.
you guys are good.
You're gonna confirm that you want these all to go over to Blackboard.
I assume.
Yeah. And then again, you're gonna have to go to the folder that you want it to deploy into. So which
So from the
folder?
root, you're gonna
It
take
didn't do
them
that.
out of the root into
So-
there.
When you click that, lessons pop up, so you just leave it like that?
It didn't ask me.
It just went to lessons on mine.
Yeah, it's on lessons.
But we can,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
can tell
But you
where.
can, yeah, if you click browse,
Browse.
it's gonna open up where you want them to fall into. And Steven, which
Now,
folder
where
do
I
these
want
go into?
Week 2?
Week 2 and week 3.
Week
but-
2
You'll see
and week
week,
3?
you'll see week 2 has essential skills, tutorial, Excel and PowerPoint in week 3.
So you probably have to split them up.
Yeah,
right?
Yep,
once you get them in, you can move them.
you can move them. Okay.
So put them in.
We're gonna
week
put them
two.
in week 2.
You click on the week 2, right?
Yep, week 2, and then click.
There's no such thing, they don't have. to
Yeah,
do
the
it. Okay.
folders don't. Yep.
Then submit, right?
Yep, submit.
That takes a minute.
You have to click thinking about it.
So we need to
No,
click the
no,
boxes?
no, you don't have to click them all. You cannot click it.
You don't have to
Click the title. You can unclick it.
Works for me.
Oh,
I'll fix it later. Okay.
Alright, so now you have a lot of different assignments pulled into here.
Mine doesn't look like it's gonna take a little while, I was thinking about it. I could be wrong, but take a few seconds.
I did something crazy. If you scroll down, that's what I got. There you go. And then back to outward lessons.
I'm
I
gonna
didn't
go
get
things
it
down,
to-
and then.
Oh,
And then get back up here and.
So you click week 2.
I just figured out the other.
I was feeling that too. I don't know, girl, I'm a.
No, if you go back by lunch, and just click on lessons.
I'm gonna need to go in and tell you.
You know how we got one where they can't, they're, things below there. No, go back.
There.
What's that?
I'm
sure. I'm sure, and I didn't take
No,
sound up
back
for
with
this
the
time.
Well, I'm gonna let Steven delete that, and I'm gonna try this again. I'm gonna go lessons,
Mona,
partner content.
look at how hers is sitting. It's almost like it double that, and nothing came in.
I'm not saying. Food is awesome.
I can't. I don't bring
Even delete.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You can delete, has no one taught you how to delete the Blackboard?
Let me get
I
out.
know how to play really well.
I don't have a delete button. I mean, I can put it in,
Put it in the
It's-
trash.
It's a workaround, you can delete
the
buttons,
button over there. Okay,
create a trash
let
button,
me do that. I'll
put
do
it in
that.
there, delete the button.
Where do I put it in?
I can't remember how to read
It
it.
is create a content area.
Create a content area.
I know how
Oh,
to
and
do
then
this.
move the assignment and trash the folder.
Can I call
Don't let me get.
button up my
No, no, you're fine, I'm just, don't put it in.
Yeah, I didn't know it would work for that, so.
That makes sense though.
That's very good.
Few
Now,
people know that.
yeah, I know that.
Yeah. No, thank y'all so much. I apologize we went over on time. No, we really appreciate y'all coming to this and working through it with us. I know this was kind of
It's a lot,
overwhelming,
it's a
but-
lot to,
But
But
y'all
I-
just know that we're all here for y'all to help with